The sun beats down on the archaeological site of Tel Es Sultan. It's hot, dusty work excavating here. But when Professor Carol Myers and her team uncovers something extraordinary, all that hard work suddenly feels worthwhile. What they have found could rewrite history books. They uncovered the remains of a city wall which appears to date back to the time of Joshua, the leader of the Israelites. If this is indeed the case, it would mean one thing and one thing only. The walls of Jericho really did fall. But hold on a minute, isn't that just a fairy tale? Are we really supposed to believe that the walls of an ancient city just crumbled to dust, and that everyone inside was wiped out? Or could there be some truth to this biblical tale? This is our channel, and today we are answering the extraordinary question: did the walls of Jericho really fall? The story of Joshua and the walls of Jericho can be found in the book of Joshua, chapter 6. In fact, it's the first miracle recorded in the Bible. To understand the controversy surrounding the walls of Jericho, it's important to get into the actual story. After the Israelites had wandered the desert for 40 years after leaving Egypt, they finally arrived at the banks of the river Jordan. The Jordan River was in flood at the time, so they couldn't cross over. So they waited 7 days for the water level to drop, and then began their journey into the promised land. The Israelites were led by a man called Joshua, son of Nun. According to the Bible, God told Joshua to tell his people to walk around the city of Jericho. They were to do this once every day for 6 days. On the 7th day, they were to walk around the city 7 times, and then blow 7 trumpets and shout. And that is when the walls of Jericho will fall, and the Israelites can enter the city. We don't know who was king at the time. The book of Joshua does mention an unnamed king of Jericho, but some scholars argue that he may not have been an actual ruler. Instead, he may have been a chief or a local leader. The Israelite spies met with 2 women during their reconnaissance mission before the siege: Rahab, a prostitute, and Achan's wife, who was the daughter of the unnamed king. Both women hid the spies when the king asked them where they were. They both received rewards for their actions. Rahab's house remained unharmed when the city was destroyed, and she became an ancestor of Jesus Christ. The king's daughter was put to death, along with the rest of the population, because her father didn't listen to the warning to surrender the Israelites. So that's the story. But did it really happen? Is there any evidence that the city of Jericho really did fall? Well, yes, actually, there is. It turns out there was a city in the region of Jericho about 3,000 years ago, and its walls really did fall. In 1873, an Austrian army officer uncovered a mound of debris known as Tel Es Sultan. He identified it as the biblical city of Jericho. But it wasn't until 1930 that excavations really began. A number of archaeologists got involved, including John Group, Kathleen Kenyon, and more recently, Professor Carol Myers. There was evidence of earthquakes and fires at the site, which led to the city being abandoned. But there was no evidence of a battle, which casts some doubt on the biblical account. You see, if the walls of Jericho did fall, we would expect to find evidence of mass destruction, weapons perhaps, or signs of a battle. But nothing of the sort has ever been discovered. Not yet, anyway. However, a recent discovery made by Professor Myers may change all of that. That's the discovery we mentioned at the start of the video. As you can imagine, finding anything in archaeology is incredibly difficult. Sites like Tel Es Sultan have been pillaged for centuries, and that means much of the artifacts have already been lost forever. But Professor Myers and her team were able to use ground-penetrating radar to look beneath the surface of the earth without having to dig. They found a wall that appeared to be at least 25 feet high and dated back to the time of Joshua. Now, this could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the walls of Jericho did indeed collapse. But before everyone starts talking about the parting of the Red Sea and other miracles, it's worth remembering that the Bible isn't always factually accurate. There are many parts of the Bible that have been proven to be false. For example, the Garden of Eden probably never existed, and even the existence of the Great Flood has been called into question. This doesn't mean that God didn't part the Red Sea, of course, but it does suggest that we shouldn't take everything written in the Bible literally. But even if we throw out the biblical account, the walls of Jericho still came tumbling down. The exact reason why is unknown, but there was likely a combination of factors. Earthquakes, fires, economic decline, war, and famine probably all played their part. Eventually, the city simply couldn't sustain life. Those who lived there packed up and left. Nature did the rest. The city of Jericho was rebuilt several times over the centuries, but it was never quite the same. Every time the city was rebuilt, the population was much smaller. It seems the people who lived there learned their lesson. Don't build a city whose walls will fall. But what about the people who died there? If no battle took place, did everyone die in an earthquake or fire? The Bible tells us that every living thing inside the city perished. Men, women, children, animals, all of them were killed. The only survivors were those who were outside the city at the time, most of the Israelites and the 2 women who helped the spies. It is interesting to note that a complete destruction followed by a rebuilding is a common theme in world history. Cities were often destroyed and then rebuilt multiple times throughout the ages. Sometimes cities were completely destroyed on purpose, such as when the Mongols attacked Baghdad. Other times they were devastated by natural disasters. But regardless of how they were destroyed, they were often rebuilt right away. People are incredibly resilient, and they tend to rebuild as soon as they possibly can. Some experts say that the destruction of Jericho wasn't as total as the Bible suggests. It's possible that only some people died, but the accounts we have are either exaggerated or completely false. There is no evidence that anyone survived the destruction, but again, there is also no evidence that everyone died. There's another possibility too. Perhaps the walls of Jericho fell in stages. The first time the city was destroyed, only some people died, but the next time it was destroyed, the entire population was wiped out. The excavations at Tall Sultan show clear signs of multiple destructions, so it is certainly possible. What's most surprising is that the city was rebuilt each time. Such devastation usually drives people away forever, but not these people. They kept returning to the exact same spot, even though the walls kept falling. Either they had nowhere else to go, or they were simply stubborn. There's a lot we don't know about the city of Jericho. Much of the information we do know has been lost over the centuries. Archaeologists hope that future excavations will bring new discoveries that will shed more light on the mysterious past of this biblical city. Until then, the walls of Jericho remain one of the greatest mysteries in human history. So there you have it, the incredible story of the walls of Jericho. We hope you enjoyed learning about this fascinating topic with us. Now it's time to hear from you. What did you think of the video? Do you believe the walls of Jericho really fell? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. We would love to have you as part of our community. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.